So I'm standing here with the truck that we're going to be doing the differential open to limited slip swap on. This is my buddy here. He owns Hayden built, which we'll get into in a second. But this is kind of a cool truck, I think. I like them. It's a regular cab, short bed, manual transmission, V8 mini truck. So the cool thing was that Dodge was really the only person that made a truck like this. They came factory with a V8 manual transmission, two-wheel drive in the lightest package you could get. These things, these were a little bit heavier. The generation before this weighed in at like 3,300 pounds with V8 power. They were a Mustang killer in their day. They really were. But we'll go ahead, we'll look around this one a little bit. This is a V8 5-speed truck. So we got kind of the paint greased up a little bit, but that's all right. You got the RT style wheels. This is not an RT truck. The RTs were all automatics. You had to get a 318 or a 4.7 to get the 5-speed. But it's just kind of got a nice stance. It looks pretty good. The wheel caps are off the back. He's got those though. But there you go. I kind of like these. He's got the newer Challenger console in there, which is pretty sweet. So under the hood here, we've got a V8. But if you know what you're looking at, that is not a Dodge V8, is it? So this truck, I think, was, what was this originally?
This was a V6 truck.
So this would have had a 3.9 liter Magnum with a manual transmission, right?
Yep.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what Hayden Built does.
So I'm a mechanical engineer, and one thing that I like to do is work on cars. So how this happened, how Hayden Built happened was, I've always wanted to do a 5.3 swap in my truck, or an LS swap in my truck. So about a year ago, I started looking at what I wanted to do. I hurt my 318 finally after 5 or 6 years of just the hardest abuse imaginable. It really actually did a pretty good job. Just every morning, sidestep the clutch on ramp of the highway, cam and headers, and just a good tune, and it just took a good beating. Eventually I lost compression in a couple cylinders and I just couldn't keep it running. So I set out to build engine mounts in order to, like, real good, nice set of engine mounts, put this engine in this car or truck for it to be perfect, right where I wanted it. I actually started out with a bunch of different random adjustable mounts. I couldn't get nothing to set this motor in the right spot without cutting the ears off the frame and then re-welding stuff on. At the same time, I found a LS Dakota swap page on Facebook. So I logged on there and I saw an opportunity to make some really good mounts and sell to a group of guys that really like swapping these with a Chevy motor. So I spent the time making the motor location perfect, and then I built some weld fixtures because that's what I do for a living, and I started manufacturing them. Really, that's how this all started, just my love for turning wrenches, and then that transitioned into, you know, part of the big LS swap craze and putting one in this truck. I really originally just made this swap for AR5 5-speed. I wanted to do a 6-speed, but I couldn't get off my wallet for a $3,500 transmission. 6-speed or like a Tick Racing trans. So I found FabBot is another small company that makes engine swap plates, and bought one of his kits. Fit amazing. I made engine mounts and trans mounts for that, and then I started getting questions and requests to making a 4L80E mount, so I made one of those as well. And right now I sell the engine swap kits with an option of an 80E mount or a AR5 mount.
So let's check the thing out here.
Yeah, so what we got is this is a 99 5.3 from a Yukon. It's a Gen 3 motor.
And it fits well.
Yeah, so one of the big things when I designed these is that I wanted to be able to use all the truck parts. Truck accessories, truck manifolds, and that's what really drove the engine location. So there's extremely good fitment with the factory truck manifolds. So you can just grab a truck manifold out of a Yukon or a truck, drop it straight in here with my mounts. You got plenty of room for exhaust on all sides, driver's side and passenger side. You can get to all the bolts, you can do alignment. It really does fit well. The only thing that doesn't fully function on this truck is my cruise control and my air conditioning. And I'm currently working on that right now.
And I see you've still got a Chrysler computer under the hood too.
The factory computer actually runs the gauge cluster. So I needed that in order to keep my speedometer, because the speedometer runs out of the rear axle. So I believe the power and some of the CAN bus stuff in the dash works through this and the ABS.
So if you wanted to do a custom dash, you could pretty much get rid of that as well.
Yeah, you can totally gut all of it and it's fine.
Okay.
This runs on the Holley Terminator X. Super great product. I can't say good enough things about it. Drivability is amazing. I put the Holley in one day and fired it. I haven't had anyone tune the truck. It's self-tuning system. You just put your own timing in and it just works great.
Okay.
Electrical system super basic. You just hook up your starter wires from your original starter location, extend them, and key on, and it's ready to run.
So there's a shot down. I dropped my light. I apologize for the light work on this video in advance. Hopefully it doesn't make anybody sick, but I'm doing this with a shop light and a GoPro, so we get what we get. But yeah, I mean, you've got clearance on your steering shaft. Everything fits nice. Anything else you wanted to add up here?
For the fuel system, I get a lot of questions on that. Super basic. I'm using that factory line for a return. I've added an additional fitting onto the top of my fuel pump for my supply. I'm running a dash 6 to a 3/8 line, and then just straight into the factory Gen 3 rail and regulator, and then returning through the original regulator that came with the truck. I just drilled it out and then plugged straight in. Super basic. If you really want to run your original pump, you can do that. I didn't.
You'd be horsepower limited if you ran your original, right?
Right. So you're pretty well limited on the original pump. You're forcing it up to 60 psi. I got a Walbro 400 in here, and I got a separate spot for another 400. I plan to make more than 500 horse, so I wanted to have two pumps just because ethanol. But also, no one has actually. I have not seen anyone post this yet, but on any forums, my AR5 swap is fantastic. It plugs straight into my factory master cylinder. So I have the factory master cylinder plumbed straight into a LS1 T56 or AR5 slave cylinder. This is an adapter fitting that you can get from the FadBot company.
So let's get this up and get underneath it, and we'll do that stuff. All right, so we're up here. We're kind of looking at the swap mounts from the underside. We're gonna walk through what these are. This is a driver's side view here.
What we got here is just hot rolled steel plate. Well, basically, it's all 1/4-inch steel plate construction, laser cut, engine mounts. Slots adjustability is kind of a big deal for this whole kit. So what you're seeing here is only a 1-inch slot. The updated mounts that I'm manufacturing now have actually 2 full inches of adjustment. So you can use a variety of transmissions or headers or whatever you want to use. You get all kinds of adjustability. Back on construction, we have 2-inch DOM with rubber isolators, and then there's a DOM core, and then grade 8 hardware to bolt to your existing ears on your frame.
So are those rubber or poly?
Those are polyurethane. They're an 80 durometer.
Okay.
They're not like your regular run-of-the-mill spring eye. They're actually a different durometer. They're a harder durometer.
Okay.
To stiffen things up a little bit. Essentially, there is a DOM core on the inside of this though, so when you squeeze it, it sandwiches the poly and then hits the core to keep it from over compressing and smashing out your isolation too much, so it doesn't destroy the mount when you tighten it up super tight.
Okay.
Also, you'll note these are raw material. The new versions are all powder coated black, gloss black, and they have black bushings. I've actually had some requests to go to red bushings, but nobody makes a red bushing in the 80 diameter that I want for proper isolation. So I don't think I'll be going to red, but the new versions are powder coated, so they shouldn't rust like these are.
Well, and you say these shouldn't rust, but this has been together for quite a while, and in Michigan with humidity, so...
Yeah, so these sat outside. These went in last summer, and it's actually been over a year. But it's not just hot rolled. This is actually hot rolled steel plate, but it's pickled in oil. So it has an oil embedded characteristic to it. So these actually aren't really rusting that much, considering they've been outside half the winter, sitting in my driveway, and it gets parked outside and driven every day. So even once it's powder coated, even if you nick the powder coat, I don't think you'll have any issues with rusting or anything like that. I've got a couple people that are running these mounts that are running big S480 turbos and some LSA blower trucks, so they've been pretty strong. I haven't had any break yet. No issues. There's a lot more explanation on the website. I need to actually do some videos and walk through it. Probably do a full swap on video to show that it can be done in a weekend relatively easily. But lots of pan room. It's actually almost easier to work on this than it was the original Magnum motor. Just happened to be that way. So power steering lines is a question I keep getting asked. Well, fantastic deal is that your power steering line that you pull off of your existing Magnum motor, or your 3.9 or your 5.2 or 5.9 or whatever you're running, even the 4.7s, will bolt straight to the Chevy pump. So same exact fitting, bolt straight in. This is a V6 fitting because this truck was originally a V6, so it's a little longer. It's got a little bit more of a loop on it, but it will bolt straight to your truck accessories. This is a AR5 swamp mount kit that I designed for LS series motors. And what we have here is a AR5 bolted to a 5.3 with a FabBot adapter plate. And I've got a rear AR5 mount, so it converts the standard run-of-the-mill TH400 isolator, and it gives you a 1/4 inch of adjustment left to right and 2 inches of adjustment front to rear. My engine mounts also give you 2 inches of adjustment front to rear as well, so you can position this wherever you want it, really. If you want to transfer all your weight to the back, you can slide the motor all the way up to the firewall. If you want a little ease of access to the bell housing, you can slide it all the way up to the radiator.
So, and that's all mounted on the stock Dakota cross member.
Yeah, so this bolts straight to the Dakota cross member. This bracket has got an S shape. It's, I think, 3/4 of an inch elevation change. So just got a bend to compensate for that.
Okay.
It included is full grade 8 hardware. It comes with fresh hardware, a fresh isolator, and hardware to bolt to the tram. So all you need is the trans, and you're good to go.
And a motor.
And a motor. If you're going to use an AR5, you got to buy a FabBot conversion plate. Those aren't quite as cheap. I think I got $410 into this adapter plate. It comes with everything and hardware included in that as well. But it allows you to adapt 2004 to 2012 AR5 or Pontiac Solstice transmission to an LS series motor. So like this was 115 bucks. And then just a standard LS1 clutch and flywheel. I got an LS6 clutch and flywheel kit, came with everything, for 250 bucks on Amazon. So I got, for less than $1,000, I have a transmission that'll hold approximately 600 horse, depending on how hard you beat it. 5-speed with almost identical ratios to the original NV 3500. Final drive is a 0.73, so it goes down the highway pretty good.
So that's your Hayden built LS1 swap kit for a 97 to 04 Dakota.
Two-wheel drive?
Two-wheel drive. And from what he said, this is something that if you have a drive, the holdup would probably be your drive shaft, but otherwise you could probably complete this swap in your driveway or garage at home with pretty minimal tools in a weekend. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you later.